I tried the iPhone and I loved the iPhone cameras when it comes to video. I just hate editing video that comes out of an iPhone. Or transferring video out of the iPhone.
Oh.
That's about the only thing I have a problem with.
So okay, so what was the problem you were having?
So
By the way, are you recording right now?
exporting-
Because I might use this as a tag.
I am recording audio, yeah.
Okay, cool. Go ahead.
Yeah. So for me, iPhones make great video. The smoothness, the 1080p, the 4K 60, front, back, everything. Exporting videos out of the iPhone on a PC, not on a Mac, is a hellish of an experience. The phone disconnects from the PC for any odd reason when you're trying to transfer video.
I'm so glad because
And-
I know the solution. But go ahead.
Okay, so that's trouble number one. Trouble number two, once I download those lovely MOV video files, Adobe doesn't really like an MOV, and there's no real way to use them unless you use, kind of like a converting tool to be able to convert it over to MP4 or any other. Basically, you just need to convert the files, which ends up taking even more time to try to basically use the footage. And in my case, the two videos that I did, the swimming video that I did with the 11 and 11 Pro Max, drove me crazy. It took me an entire day between figuring out how to transfer my data, which I ended up using AirDrop, and then converting the files just to get them to work with Premiere, because I didn't want to switch over to, Windows Movie Maker to make a video.
Yeah, and when I used to have those troubles as well, Handbrake was my best friend, so I just kept converting them to Handbrake.
I heard Michael Fisher's comment a while back. He's like, I use Handbrake all the time. I'm like, yep, I downloaded it, and it works. But it took me a while to get to that, to remember where, and it drove me crazy. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so here are the two solutions, because I had the same problem with my iPhone 11 Pro review. Also, first of all, I'm going to do follow-up videos for all of these things where I vlog with the phone, but I edit the footage. Because when you don't edit the footage, I mean, obviously it's for review purposes, things can be blown out, they might not be perfect, blah, blah, blah. But the whole point of the iPhone 11 and all these phones, really, all the good phones with good video capabilities, is that you can edit them and they'll look great. I never edit them because I'm trying to be like a good reviewer and whatnot, but I need to do that more because it'll look better and people will enjoy it more. Anyway,
Exactly.
First thing you got to do for problem number one, head to Photos in the settings, and then when you get to the bottom, it says transfer to PC or Mac. It'll always be at automatic. What it's trying to do is it's trying to detect what kind of computer you're transferring everything to, and then converting the files to a more to a more compatible format, which is dumb because it even doesn't do that right, because you've had to put it through Handbrake still, right?
Even when I do get the files, I'm still not able to use it right.
Exactly. So if you go to keep originals on this setting, it'll just raw transfer the files and it won't disconnect because it's not doing extra processing in the background. So stupid. iOS, something I've always hated about that, but I finally figured out that I finally read somewhere that that's the solution. And then the other thing too is I know that clearly what you're using is H.265 files.
It is. If it was H.264 wouldn't have been an issue.
Exactly. Honestly, I just go back to H.264. I can't not use it. It's a waste of time to try to use those high efficiency files and convert them and whatnot. And the only benefit you're really getting with that is 60 frames per second, which I get. Okay, 4K 60. That's if that's what you want, that's what you get. And that's the only option.
I downsize it to 1080 60, but I need the 60. That's my only problem. I don't want to do 4K 30 and then I'm downgrading it to 1080 60. Then the footage doesn't. I end up having to go 1080 30. I just like that extra flexibility, especially if you're taking an action shot. You don't want to have to, worry about having to slow it down a little bit. It's going to change basically the frame rate. So for me, I love the video. They just have absolutely gorgeous video. There's no question.
See, that's the thing, though. You need to make sure that if you go into the camera app, that you're always. I'm trying to remember where it is, but I know that it says here that like use high efficiency or not. Because
I think HTC had the same setting in it, right?
I think so. Yeah.
People weren't able to use it.
Because 1080 60 can be H.264. It's 4K 60. That is only high efficiency codec. That's the only option you have for it. So that's the thing. So for me, it's 4K 30 all the time. Unless I really do want that like extra motion, then I just go to 1080 because screw high efficiency. I hate it.
264 for the win.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it.
So
You got it.
PSA for
No, I appreciate it.
anybody out there who's
Yeah.
using the iPhone and wants to edit on it. I get it. Like even ISO was telling me that this is the reason why iPhones were so popular or are so popular is because for most people they connect it to iTunes. iTunes does all the processing for you. And
Yep.
you know it's and they're not, most people who are using iPhones are not even trying to create like 15-minute YouTube videos and stuff half the time.
No, yeah, or yeah, with like an hour and a half worth of footage that they're trying to dwindle down to whatever.
Yeah.
No. To me, it was just, and it wasn't even a lot of clips. That's what drove me crazy. Is like I would put it in, but just Premiere really needs to get its act together. I mean, with the number of iPhone users in the world, you would think in 2019 they would just like, hey, let's just fix this problem.
Yeah, but the thing is,
know.
like, even Adobe will like shrug their shoulders and go, "Get a Mac," and it's just like, come on.
They're like, we fixed it, dude. Totally.
Yeah,
It's on the
On the
Mac.
Mac, yeah.
I was like, dang it. Okay, yeah, no.
All right.
I appreciate the tip. I did not realize there was more settings to play with, but
And it's all in the
that's actually good
settings
to know.
app, which is like the dumb part about iOS is like, why not put these things? Why not put a shortcut in the camera application in order to get to it?
why can't we change the frame rate and the video resolution inside of the actual camera application? To this day is beyond me.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to talk to that guy in charge of the camera app. It's like, dude.
What storage option did you get?
I usually go with the 64. I don't usually go with the higher ones, mostly because I will probably not be using the iPhone for too long anyway.
Oh,
It's
okay,
not
fair.
like, so for me, it's like I jump so many phones. I'll have like one daily driver, one like the one that has like the banking apps and all the main things that I need to have on one device that you require extra stuff. But the rest of the devices, I usually don't care. They're mostly for pictures. And then I just offload all the images. Whenever I take pictures and whatever, I take them off. And my iCloud, I think it's already full between the the iPad and the
It's really hard for me to say this, because I was given where my career has gone up until this point. It's hard for me to say this because I was so trained to just be Android all the time. I'm not converting fully to iOS. All I'm saying is for creators like us, Android phones are a mile a minute. There are so many of them. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have one phone on me at all times that just has everything I need on it. And it's not me saying that iOS is better. It's just me saying that it's kind of nice that iOS is just the one thing. so
I appreciate the ecosystem. I just, like I said, I wish I could stick to a phone long enough to.
Yeah. See, on the Android side, I will happily use everything. I'll switch all the time. But it's kind of nice that the second phone I have, it's just something that I don't have to keep setting up every like few weeks with all my apps.
That's exactly what it is. And for me, it just happens to be the Mate 20 Pro. But just overall, as far as just as a solid performer, I liked it. I really liked it. The battery life was really nice. The optics were great, and the actual new form factor. I like the bigger screen, the triple camera setup, and just 4K 60 everywhere. There's no difference if you're flipping between the back and the front, and also the fact that when you switch lenses, that's one thing that drives me a little bit off with some of the Android devices that we have. Is whenever you're taking video, and let's say they allow you to switch between wide and telephoto or even the standard focal length, you don't get the same colors, right? You could see the shift. You're like, oh, I just changed the lens. And on the iPhone, they're actually calibrated.
Yeah.
They're calibrated to work so you don't even know you're changing cameras. I mean, you can see it, obviously, but if you crop a little bit, you wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
And I love that about the video.
The exposure might change a little bit, like especially if you go to the wide. That's the main portion that I saw, like the exposure changes, and then you get some noise and whatnot. But like with any phone, the main sensor is still like, beastly, and it's still really nice. I haven't even done a Slow-Fi yet. I just realized I gotta do a Slow-Fi sometime. That's also the first time I've ever said that word, so I don't know if it's going to become a thing.
Congratulations.
I fought it for so long, and I know some people were mispronouncing it on purpose because they hated the word, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel the same way. But yeah, all right. So a little bit of I wanted to start the episode off like already with all of that because it was already a good discussion. I felt like it was kind of fun, and also TK and I just haven't been able to catch up in a little bit, so it's great to have you back on the show.
Dude, definitely. I'm stuck home today, so you got me captivated audience right now.
Fair enough. All right, so over on your end of the Android side of things, obviously over at XDA, there's been a lot of reporting going on, especially when it comes to our upcoming big phone, the phone that everyone's going to be comparing to the iPhone, obviously, the Pixel 4.
The Pixel 4, man. If there's more leaks, there'll probably be more leaks. Actually, if I'm not,
There might be.
I'm sure there's another leak today. Yeah.
We are only days away from the event, and I know I said I was on All About Android earlier this week, so a lot of the news that we talked about on that show, I'm going to be rehashing on this one with TK, who's obviously who works at XDA as well. So he'll be able to give a little bit more insight on it as well. Also, Michal was on All About Android, so it's great that he was able to talk about it on the show.
Oh man, yeah. No, he's literally like the source of a good number of stuff that we're getting.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, so we're going to rehash that a little bit, but I wanted to start off by just asking you, are you, oh, actually, no, sorry. Let me table that question real quick. The thing I was trying to say is neither of us are going to the event, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, no, not this. I was there last year, and that was actually a really nice event. We were there for the Pixel 3, Pixel 3 XL, and then the Pixel, I want to say, yeah, the Pixel Book. I keep wanting to say the Pixel. No, it was the Pixel Slate. My mistake. The Pixel Slate, not the Book. Keep confusing these two. And then, of course, we saw the brand new, the new Nest Hub, and then the few other things. But it was really nice. I loved it. And sadly, no love. But Michal from XDA will be going. So at least from the XDA side, somebody will be there.
Yes. Without getting into too many details, I think I could have gone ultimately to the event, but let's just say some scheduling conflicts happened, and I'm actually heading to a different trade show, one that you might be hearing a lot more of over the next couple of years. And this is the first time that Pocket now and myself, this is the first time that we'll be able to attend CTEC in Japan. So
nice.
Coming from a guy who grew up on Japanese culture and loved it so much and never went to Japan until this year. I've gone 3 times this year by now.
Dude, I so want to go with you right now. I want to go now because the weather's a little bit better than when we were last. That was the other thing.
Which might be true, but from what I hear, there's a typhoon rolling through right now. And
okay.
It might affect travel,
Okay.
so hopefully I'm still around by next week's episode. But but it's going to be raining a little bit over there, but it'll be fine. I mean, Japan's just an amazing place. I wish I could bring this phone to Japan. It would have been the perfect time to show that thing off.
Especially fit to take pictures at night, the nightscape, go over to the Tokyo Tower or anything. Yeah, that would have been, or even Kyoto if you can even squeeze a little trip down there. That'd be nice, yeah.
Today's show is sponsored by Caseta Smart Lighting Control from Lutron, pioneers in smart home technology. A lot of people think you need smart bulbs to get smart lighting, but there is a smarter way. Caseta's smart dimmers and switches replace the switch in your wall so that all the lights controlled by that switch will act smart. Think about all the places in your home where one switch controls multiple bulbs. Ceiling lights, chandeliers, bathrooms, and all of those. With Caseta, you'll save money by replacing the switches instead of replacing all of the bulbs. Smart bulbs are only smart after all while the switch is on. If someone flips it off, you can say goodbye to all of that smart control and connectivity. But Caseta switches are always smart even if the switch is off. With Caseta dimmers, you don't need to buy smart bulbs to enjoy smart lighting, so you get the best of both worlds. Smart lighting control from an app or your voice, and you also get control right at the switch. So by using the application, I have the lights in my home turning on at certain hours to make it seem like we're all home, even if we might not be, especially in the evenings. But if you don't want to use the app or your voice, you could still use the switch itself or a little remote control that came with my Caseta set as well. In any case, you can get smart lighting the smart way with Caseta by Lutron Smart Switches. Learn more about Caseta at lutron.com/weekly. That's lutron.com/weekly. So speaking of that Pixel 4, this is the question of the day, the question of the episode, which I'm also posing to all of you viewers and listeners. Get into the comment sections. Are you excited for the Pixel 4? TK,
Heck
are
yeah.
you? You are.
Oh my God, yes. Some of the stuff that we've been able to find, or that we just, there's just so many new. I mean, there are things we knew that were coming. Obviously, live transcription. Live caption. Sorry. We saw that at Google I/O. They talked about it, but we just didn't see it come out. Some of the new gestures, some of the new functionalities in the camera. Just you being able to just get all of these new things. They're really packing it this time, and I'm hoping a lot of these features that we're uncovering are going to be available at launch. So that's why I'm excited. I want to see what they're going to announce, and I'm also hoping for the "and oh wait, by the way" kind of thing. I'm hoping for something like that.
Is it one more thing? Like that's the phrase usually.
Yeah.
So let's go down the line a little bit with the Pixel 4 in general. What I did want to talk about first of all is like the design. So now we have phone. Actually, I should take it out of the case. By the way, quick shout out to Isa, pink case on the iPhone. I wanted to take the iPhone out real quick and just say how. So we've had the iPhone, and we just talked about it for the first half of this episode, where you have that square up there. It looks like the Pixel is going to be fairly similar in that regard. But what I'm noticing in all of these photos, and hopefully I have one set up right now on the feed, is that it's got like a two-tone thing going on. So if you get, if you get the white edition, the backing is fully white, but then the rest of the phone's got the black color. I'm kind of digging that two-tone because this is a decidedly metal phone, so obviously it's got that sheen to it. Two-tone on the Pixel 4. I'm actually kind of looking forward to the design of this thing.
Oh man, I'm more of on the team orange at this point. I've seen the orange color, and I'm like
the orange, not so orange, like
not so orange. Yeah.
Okay,
that's so myself and Max over at the on the YouTube site, as well as the portal for XDA, are both team orange on this one. So if we are able to pick, that would be our color. But I think it fits into the aesthetics that we've had before, right? They've always done. It's generally a two type of texture on the back of the phone. So last year it was glass all around, but more that little bit of frosted at the back where we had kind of just to wear it for better grip. So I'm not sure if that's probably what they're trying to do, to give you a little bit better grip so that it doesn't just slip and slide out of your hand if you're obviously don't have a skin or a case on it. But I like the design, actually, having that square. If we think about it, I don't want to basically say that it started anywhere, but and I'm not pointing to anything right now. Hold on, let me take the case off because I don't think it's really clear. So the square didn't start anywhere. I mean, it was just not present at the top left, but I like it.
I'm glad actually though that we have.
2018.
I'm glad that we have sort of lines drawn in the sand, because there are a few phones that we've been seeing very recently that are all about that circle. So I'm like, okay, circle, and then we got the square. Obviously, I'll call them the reference manufacturers. I mean, the iPhone's not a reference; it is the device. But what I mean is, like, the Pixel is sometimes Google's devices are kind of considered reference devices sometimes, where things start and then they blossom from there. But yeah, squares on all of these. Now, speaking of those cameras, here's the thing. Here's something that I mentioned on a couple of shows recently that I'm a little bit miffed about. We do have the spec sheet for the Pixel 4. I mean, Google's just been kind of piecemealing all of its information to everybody, and there are leaks, of course. But what's funny is there are leaks on top of the fact that Google has been giving out some information also. Now,
oh yeah. No, this year's been a little bit different. They're no longer being quiet about it. That they'll start talking, like the 90 hertz display. They threw it out there. So we knew things were coming from them.
So 90 hertz display, which is already going to be fun. Anybody out there who has been following OnePlus recently has got the 7T, the 7T Pro. 7T Pro happened like literally yesterday, and
I was going to say, yeah.
That happened like literally yesterday, and it's got that 90 hertz display, which I will admit, a 90 hertz display, once you use it and then you use something else, it's like, oh yeah, like that's that is smooth. That is really nice. Now, kind of going through the spec sheet a little bit, we just talked about that. The Pixel 4 in particular is a 5.7 inch display. The Pixel 4 XL. I don't have the sheet for that one. Do you know what the size on that one is?
Let me see if I can pull that up. I have actually been focusing on the Pixel 4 very little, but the XL actually has been around, which is
I got it. 6.3. So 6.3 inch, also typical. 90 hertz, and you know what? That's funny you mentioned that, because I've had a bit of a realization. Well, okay, I thought last year when this phone and when the Pixel 3 and the iPhone came out at around the same time, I thought that I would go for the bigger phones, and I finally understood why big phones are cool and all that stuff, or why people like them. I've gone the complete opposite way. I'm back to like, give me the small phone. I would want the Pixel 4 personally.
I like the Pixel 4. I mean, and I think we had this conversation not that long ago with the Note 10 conversation. I appreciate the function. So I like the real estate, and I'm gonna say, as a person that basically just loves having bigger displays, I'm actually even going at a phone that goes even bigger than a standard
Look
display.
at that flex.
So for
Look
me,
at that flex from TK.
yeah. It's hard for me to say that. So I've tried them and I've used them, and there's nothing wrong. It just I just like the real estate. I like, especially when you're split screening things. When I drive and I'm using my Google Maps, I like to split my screen, and I like to do Google Maps, and I like to use my music of choice, Google Play, Spotify, whatever. And I like to have those controls, and I like to see the graphic art. So for me, I'm glad they have two options. That's really, and even on the 3A, they had two options, which was really nice. I like the 3A XL.
Yeah, indeed. So with the Pixel 4 and the XL, actually, I think they both have similar specifications. Of course, aside from battery, you do get the Snapdragon 855, no 855 Plus, but then again, a Pixel was never really meant to be a gaming phone, and the whole term gamer when it comes to a phone is a little bit, I don't want to say contrived, but it's very relative. It's very relative to each user and each device. Now, talking about the cameras, here's the thing that I was miffed about when it comes to the specs. 2 cameras on the back, that's fine. From what I can tell, there's only 1 camera on the front so far, or we really don't know yet. That's the thing that I'm still trying to figure out. If there's there doesn't seem to be wide angle on this phone at all. And that really upsets me.
And that's something that would be bad if we lost, because I didn't appreciate the notch from last year, but I appreciated having that wide angle front facing camera. Having a secondary sensor is always going to be appreciated, especially when you're trying to take, I'm not trying to glorify selfies, but I do take quite a number of those, and I'd like to be able to make sure that I can squeeze in a group, especially at events when you meet a whole bunch of people and you want to just squeeze in a few people in there. It's a little bit hard. Yeah. So it's always nice to have, and if you're trying to do video with it, having that secondary option to fit in more, it just makes it so much easier.
Yes. If I'm being completely honest, it's not as if it's that big of a deal for somebody like me, because I do have solutions for all of that. I'm all about I actually am a bit of an advocate for clip-on lenses, to be honest, and also moment lenses and whatnot. But still, like when even people like Apple are making their iPhone 11, their base model, the basest of the base models have a wide angle camera instead of a telephoto. Why is it that Google's not going in that direction? It still boggles my mind a little bit, because wide angle's like the new hotness and they're still not doing it.
They may end up opting for a wide angle lens as opposed to just a dual camera setup.
That's true.
Kind of like how what's it called? Samsung does it a little bit. They crop in with the initial view, and then when you click the wider view, essentially just takes out the crop that you usually have.
That's true, especially for the front. That's true, but on the rear, it's 12 megapixel main, 16 megapixel telephoto. Now, granted, there's supposed to be like a very high resolution zoom feature, which is fine. Okay, I'm cool with that. We don't know how much of a telephoto it is, but given the way that it looks on the back, it's probably a 2x. So
3 at max. If it's pushing it, that's the most we've seen. But I'm with you. I would have gone for a wide over a telephoto any day, especially for macro photography. If you're going to try to go macro, add that as a secondary feature. You can easily do that with a wide angle lens and just add that additional feature to your phone, as opposed to go for more. And I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to do a much better bokeh effect, that separation, subject separation, but they've done a great job with it with a single camera for years.
Yeah.
Why not go for? Yeah, to me, it would have been
I guess if I was to be a bit of this is one of the few times I'll use this word. I guess if I was going to be a Google apologist, in a way, the comments are going nuts now, but but I would say that the pixel processing probably won't actually provide a whole lot more value in a wide angle lens as it could in a telephoto lens, especially for portraits and doing cutouts and all that stuff. So obviously the algorithmic processing could like make the colors better. It could actually make the detail better in all photos, sure. But if you're talking about portraits and whatnot, and you do a portrait with a wide angle lens, maybe it's not something that they feel like. It's a little bit like putting a square in a circle. It's a little bit odd to try to do that. So I kind of get it. Sure, still love my wide angle. Please give it back. But
I would have just said go for the triple camera setup. You could have done it both. Get both of them. Why sacrifice one over the other?
That's fair. That's fair.
They went with a square. It's not like you didn't have the real estate.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, just look at this. But then again, everyone hated the design of the iPhone because of this thing. Also, just imagine what moment lenses look like on the Pro on this thing.
I was gonna ask if the adapter on that thing is gonna be just custom made, and you're like having to get it right at the right angle, or it's like maybe like maybe even telescopic slightly, so it's just that you can get it. But no, those moment lenses when that day you and I went to the Getty that a while back. I really appreciated the value that they offer, especially because you were using a 3A. You weren't even using you weren't even using an iPhone or even the full version of it. You were just using a 3A, and it just pictures beautiful.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about it now, but I just had a thought like, wow, imagine what a 4A would look like. I think that'd be a pretty fun phone.
Man. Yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah, the middle of next year.
Probably. Oh yeah, for sure. All right. So along with the Pixel news and leaks and whatnot, we do have a few announcements, and we want to give another shout out to Michelle for being the one who reported on a lot of this. I love that everything started with exclusive.
Yeah. No, well, it is. If you think about it, a lot of other people are, whenever they're reporting, they're always basically getting it right after. They've been able to uncover some really nice things, and we just put out a video this morning on the live transcription application, so that actually is doing pretty well.
Good. Shouts out to that. I'll make sure that is in the link in the description below, especially for you YouTube viewers. So with the Pixel 4, it seems like it's going to be marking the start, or rather, it's going to be marking a new era as far as Android proliferation is concerned. For example, all devices moving forward should have Android 10 installed. It's becoming more of a requirement now. It seems that Google is trying to sort of fix their fragmentation problem, I'll call. And aside from that, along with Android 10 being something that is required, there are a few other tidbits from there. It has to say powered by Android during the boot up process, which I think is funny because all of these phones are going to start having a bunch of like stickers and things on it. Like the boot up process is going to say powered by Android. The box is going to say powered by Snapdragon. And like it's just so much of this stuff happening right now.
And the packaging will say this is a Samsung. Like,
yeah,
what?
Exactly.
So who's powering my phone? Yeah, no. I think the powered by Android hasn't been a requirement, but it's been around for some time. So we've seen that already. But yeah, you're right. It's going to start creating some confusion as to, who is the power behind this. I mean, the reality at the end of the day, you're buying so much tech, but I think hopefully this will help with just normalizing and at least allowing people to understand that devices are powered by Google. They may have a different type of processor, a Kirin and a Snapdragon, or even I forget the other other manufacturers that we may have on the market. So we'll see. Yeah, I appreciate them wanting to set that standard. I think it's good. I'm just hoping that other OEMs, like OEMs that go into the mostly Chinese markets, will adhere to the same thing, because those are the ones that generally release devices that are running slightly behind with Android.
Oh yeah, for sure. Speaking of a sign of the times, we also have Google making it a requirement for digital well-being to be part of a phone. And I mean, this is what we said on All About Android, is like, we all kind of agreed, we love this. We're not going to use it. But
I had it on for a couple of days and I turned it off. Sorry, bro. I appreciate the data. I appreciate
exactly.
it. I just don't like the notification.
I'm the mindfulness guy. I mean, not to give too much away, but like over here, I don't even know if you can see it in the video, but sometimes when I do host segments right here with this setup, you can see I literally have a meditation cushion on the floor. Like I actually sit down and try to take a breath every now and then. I'm the mindfulness guy. I am the worst when it comes to my phone. It's one of those bastions that it just can't get across, and I feel guilty about it all the time. Once it's one of those things that we all deal with, where the phone you hear the and then you're just like. Like what?
It's hard, but we run our business from it too. I mean, you and I, we don't really just use our phones just as a casual user. This is our tool. This is when we're away from home. This is how we manage our channels, social media accounts, responding emails, business contacts, so on. It's so much more, and it's hard. So I appreciate having it, and I also appreciate the new parental control as a parent too. Yeah. And I love that part. That one's going to be definitely very nice, and I look forward to seeing better implementation of it. But right now, it's nice to have. Huawei rebranded it, so I'm not sure if Huawei will have to rebrand theirs back to digital well-being, or does it just have to be present in its form?
It just has to be present in some fashion, as long as it adheres to a few different parameters. I was going to say, I like it too. And what I really wish though, just to sort of fine grain what you were saying, I totally agree. What I do kind of wish though is that. Not to say that we should give people like Apple or Google all the information, but it would be nice if if Digital Wellbeing also told me not just how much time I'm spending in an app, but what things I'm literally looking at. Because you're right, we use our phones for things like business emails, for going on Instagram so that we can do posts and to like each other's stuff, because it helps all of us, to engage with one another in the tech space and whatnot. But when I'm just looking at, for example, the Explore tab or the Trending tab in Twitter or something like that I wish it could tell me how long I've actually been being productive, or I'm just being a mindless consumer. You know what I mean? Like
or how many hours do I spend in TikTok?
Yeah, exactly. And
because that's a wormhole on its own, and I don't want to talk
exactly.
Until
we can find a way to monetize TikTok stuff, there's no reason for us to be on TikTok. Like, there's just no.
I say that, but yet I spend my Digital Wellbeing says battery consumes so much.
I am going to show at this point in the episode that tweet you put out where you were doing the TikTok thing. It was a split screen with you and somebody else in it. I'm trying to remember.
It was somebody else. Yeah, it was basically the TikTok I did from I think it was at Wreck-It Ralph, and basically it was just the girl she wanted her video to go with a duet. So the option of doing two videos, or you react to people, or you can duet with somebody where it does the split screen. And it just worked perfectly, and she cracked me up. And I did a couple other ones. I've been on it for a while. My son and I love it, but it is a wormhole. And yes, I would love to know if I'm in the Explore page, or I'm about, for you, or am I just, it's just a lot of, TikTok is Vine on crack. That's the way I describe it.
It's a great way to put it.
It's a wormhole. It's worse than YouTube.
All right, so let's see what other things Google is making very, very... Oh, the navigation gestures are going to be required now. And it seems like people are mixed about this.
But with any change, we're always going to be that way, right? I mean, the reality is you've had OnePlus gestures, right? We've had Samsung gestures, which they're not really gestures per se. They're more like swipe up from where you were. And then, of course, you had, the Huawei gestures. And then you just have so many different companies implementing a style of gestures. This allows us to be consistent. I don't have to learn that when I'm going to a OnePlus, before obviously the Android 10 update, that I had to swipe and do it from a different position. Now I know that swiping from the sides takes me to exactly where I want to do, back. Swiping and holding takes me to the recents, and then swiping up and releasing just takes me home. It's simple, it's easy, and then the edges release the assistant.
That's the only one that I don't like, because it feels too weird. Like it
is. And you have to remember that it's in the edge, right? Because you're swiping up, you're holding, you're like, wait, I'm not getting the assistant. Why? And then you remember that it's sitting at the edges now, because that's how they can differentiate it. There's no other gesture combo unless you like a double tap and a twist or something. I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
But you can always install Nova the way I do.
Fair. And as far as the Pixel is concerned, even if you don't want to use the corner gesture for Assistant, there's so many new ways of actually bringing, or not so many new ways, but there are many ways of bringing up Google Assistant.
You have the squeeze, which will always be an option, which is nice.
And apparently the new one is going to involve a little bit of a face unlock, which is also going to be coming to the Pixel 4, but also raise to talk, which I think is interesting. It's as if the moment you raise up the phone, in this case the Pixel 4, obviously, Google Assistant's just ready to start listening to you, and it's like, okay, I mean, that's pretty interesting. Like, do you think this would make Google Assistant more accessible and thus used more by people?
I think that feature would make it easier to interact with it if you wanted. I think most people will probably not use that feature specifically, because we don't always want to talk to her or talk to the assistant when we raise it, right? We sometimes want to just look at what's on our screen. We want to interact maybe with a notification or something like that. So for me, I think it's a great feature. It continues the path that they explained to us at I/O. If you remember, they're envisioning the interaction with the assistant to be a little bit more intuitive. They're moving it a little bit in where it's placed on the UI, as far as just having it sitting at the bottom now as opposed to taking up the screen. There was additional, those little things I think are always great. I think if you use the assistant and you rely on it a lot, I think it's great. The continuous command, I'm really looking forward to seeing that in action. Oh my God, that video, I've been waiting for that since I saw the video on that. And then, so a lot of the new things, like the new maps, the new interaction with it, those are the things that I would love to see it. And all of that running on the device.
Yeah.
that's a game changer there. No reliance on the internet to run these commands will make it so much better, because you'll have less continuity issues when you're using it and you're in areas where your signal maybe dips, you lose signal for a second. You're not going to worry about it. So I'm really happy. I don't know if that race to talk is going to work for me, but I still like to initiate it by voice.
You know, the reason why I'm into this is because I will admit I'm a little bit spoiled by the iPhone, because like raise to wake and then Face ID immediately shows you your notifications and whatnot. More features like that do make life a little bit easier. I will admit also that it is one of those features that just makes the phone a little bit too addicting, because like I said, when the moment the moment you hear your chime or the vibration, I immediately lift it and look at what I got, and it's it's too much. And
you check your phone.
Yeah, so I could do the same thing with the Pixel feasibly. I could pick it up and just go straight to like, what's my agenda today or something like that. So that makes a lot of sense. All right, so for the last few minutes on here, since we got into a spirited discussion about the iPhone earlier, and now we're talking about the Pixel, the camera, coming back to the camera. Pixel Neural Core, obviously been a thing, but now with the Neural Core, the Pixel 4 will it will. I don't want to say supposedly because this is actual information. That's what I like about...
By the time we watch this video, this could be, more of a will than it
exactly. Well, then again, 9 to 5 Google did have the exclusive on this where it will bring dual exposure controls. And... This really shows just how crazy the Pixel camera can be. And I think this is a fantastic thing to see on the phone. Think of all the times that you might have taken a picture, then you go into something like Snapseed or Adobe Lightroom Mobile or even Google Photos itself. Mm-hmm. You adjust for the highlights and the shadows, and you try to put in more contrast, and you try to change like the Pixel algorithmic processing will also on its own try to do those things for you. But now you have some control over it, which I think is pretty fantastic. So in this case, you can actually change the highlights and the shadows. You get these sliders on the side that allow you to change those modes or those settings rather. So for example, if you have somebody who's blown out, you might just be able to bring down the highlights. And you get
to dial it down,
and you get these cool silhouettes and whatnot. Or if you're just in a really like harsh lighting situation, you can cater it to make it look like a more natural shot. Thoughts from you on this particular feature?
I want more options. I want to be able to control. I don't mind their algorithms. I love how it does it, and it generally does a really good job whenever you're trying to edit it, especially in Google Photos and you're trying to do the auto awesome kind of thing. I love the fact that you're able to do some of those things, but it doesn't always. You're right. It doesn't always hit right, and having the controls to be able to manipulate that, especially when you're still in that moment, are always going to be beneficial. So I just appreciate them allowing us to control, especially with the dual exposure, doing basically an overexposed and an underexposed and then dial it into the middle. Just allowing us to get better HDR even. I would imagine that just impacts HDR right away, just giving us better images. Yeah. I just wish, like I said, all of these things are so gimme right now, right? I was like, give me and send me to a really nice looking place and just leave me for a few hours. Let me take some pictures. Yeah. So to me, I just can't wait. And my only hope is that they release the phones really close to after the announcement, so that we don't see that massive gap that we sometimes see with announcements and then phones coming out like a month later or something. I just want to be able to hopefully get my hands on one and play around and just enjoy a little Pixel goodness, because I still have the 3XL and the 3A XL, and these are some solid performers. Like I said, with a single camera on the back, so I can imagine what they can do with the dual camera setup. Telephoto, but still.
I'm curious though. Like even if you were to change up the settings on the highlights and the shadows, will Google processing still do something to the photo after the fact? Like I just hope that it doesn't undo your work, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
My hope essentially is like more of a pro mode. Is that not necessarily it's if the user overrides the auto options, then you stick to the manual override. It's kind of like when we have it on our cameras, right? We can turn on auto, or we can do aperture priority, exposures. We could set all the different things, but leave some things in auto. So that I'm hoping that's how it does. So it still does some kind of processing, but it doesn't undo like the exposure that you're set. You're basically, this is the shot that you're composing, and this is how you want it to look. Even though, Auto Awesome may say something else, this is what you want, and just let that go.
That's fair. That's fair. I like that.
Yeah.
One thing I always appreciate about the Pixel cameras, and this is the thing though. I do want to get more into installing, being a little bit more like TK over here, and actually putting the Google camera on phones.
I was gonna say Gcam, baby.
Exactly.
But this is the Gcam, so you can't really Gcam the Gcam.
I love Google Camera because it has this one control that is, in my opinion, paramount for any vlogger, especially if you're using, obviously if you're using a phone. When you tap to focus somewhere, there's a little lock icon that
the locking option.
It is a godsend, especially on the Pixels, because we just to kind of bring things full circle, we were talking about working on video on an iPhone. Well, when you're working on video with a Pixel, any smartphone really, the dead giveaway that you're using a smartphone, because to the keen eye, you can kind of tell that, oh, that's not a full size camera, that's not like a GH5 like I'm using for the show or anything like that. But for casual users, if the video is great, the video is going to be great. But the dead giveaway is that focus keeps jumping. And
it keeps seeking focus, especially when you're moving. It doesn't know what you're focusing on.
So locking down your focus, any aspiring smartphone vloggers out there, make sure you do that. And the Pixel has always been an easy camera to use to lock down your focus. And now you can change your exposure. Imagine if these exposure settings are in the video mode.
I hope. Although I'm foreseeing possibly only in photography,
I agree.
Not in video. Yeah, I think chances are they'll give you more control over photo because it's more still. Computationally, the ability of putting it in video may come down later.
Yeah. But it would be nice if you're able to like do a live like computational processing on a video. I agree, but just being able to change the highlights and the shadows on the fly, I feel like is something that you can do in a regular camera application. So
you mean during video taking, or like right before you? Yeah. Oh, that'd be it. Yeah.
So like you set the two, and then you can hit record.
Okay, yeah. I thought you meant like while you're recording and you're moving your hand, you're able to change the exposure a little bit.
Well, that would be ideal, but I mean, even on a camera like my GH5, you can change highlights and shadows. You can. So yeah, and then you hit record and it locks. But yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, TK, we talked about a lot of stuff today. Thank you so much. It's great to catch up with you again, brother.
Same here, man. I can't wait for next week, and I'm really, really jealous that you're going to Japan again. I mean, I wish you the best of luck with everything.
You know what though? It's going to be rough because I need to schedule. So to anybody out there, I know that there are some comments probably below that are like, "Where's Jaime? Where's Jaime?" I have him scheduled for next week because he will have gotten his Pixel 4 at the event, or if they're going to give him out, but he will at least have experienced the phone at the event. And obviously, we want to have somebody on who is going to talk about the Pixel 4 with it in his hands, supposedly. And then Jaime is obviously the person that a lot of you want to see on the show. So we're going to have him back on soon. By the way, as far as Pocket Now is concerned, he and I are very busy people, so it's hard for us to link up as often as we wish.
East Coast, West Coast, baby.
That's true.
All you guys are you guys got it covered.
Yeah, exactly. So you could look forward to seeing him next week, but I have to do the time zone math because I'm going to be all the way in Japan. So I'm hoping that I can do it effectively and without having to stay up until like 4 a.m.
Oh man, yeah. I remember when you were in the Philippines one time we were doing it. I remember that was bad. You were in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it was, and
it was a wild.
That I was glad that it worked. Thank God.
Yeah.
Internet in Japan is going to be way better than in the Philippines, so it'll. I'm sure of it.
It's. You know what? If anybody can do it, you guys could do it definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll be good.
All right.
I'm looking forward.
TK, let everybody know where they can find you.
I'm basically TK Bay all over the socials, but basically TKDSL8655 on both Instagram and Twitter, and just regular TK Bay, both over on XDA, my channels, both English and in Arabic. So, hit me up.
Awesome. All right, cool. So Pocket Now you can find on all social media as well at Pocket Now, and you can find all of the links for both Pocket Now and also for my stuff. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JVTechT. You know me, I'm JV. I love tech and I love to drink me some tea. Find both of our channels, all of our channels actually, XDA, TK's, my own, and Pocket Now's, all linked in the description down below or in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast using your favorite podcasting application. From there, though, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this one. Oh, TK just mentioned, we were going to talk about the Pixel book. We already went to 45 minutes, so we're going to have to table it for now, I guess. But let me just show you a quick. If you stuck around to the end of the episode, here's the little thing for you. The thing that was reported on this morning is that the Pixel book apparently is going to be a thing. It's a Pixel Book Go. that has that coral or the not so orange. I think this one's coral though.
Yeah, it's orange, but yeah, no, it's coral. I go and I saw, and it was something that was like late, really like last minute.
Oh yeah, it was just it was a very quick. Not really an announcement, but it was a leak this morning, I should say. So you get a quick look at it here at the end of the episode. But as you're looking at the Pixelbook Go, we're going to go ahead and sign off on this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in our next episode.